welcome to another episode of Thoughtful Leaders. Today we have with us Dr. Sanjeev Marwaha, who is director at JK Business School. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of Collegedunia, and we are delighted to have you with us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So let's quickly start with the interview, sir.
Please.
So are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
So, sir, the first question would be, you have held key positions at education institutes throughout your professional career. What are the key factors that keep you connected with the education sector?
Yeah, I after my MBA in 88, I worked in corporate for almost a decade, and then started visiting campuses for guest lectures, and I got fascinated and decided to enroll for a PhD program at Birla Bimtech, and that's where my serious academic journey began. And I had interest in academics right from inception, including my business school days, but I never thought I'll make it a career. I became head of CRC Corporate Resource Center at APJ Group, and for 7 years I handled and headed this department, including Center for Entrepreneurship and head of Department of Marketing. And the God has been quite graceful. At age of 39, I became one of the fairly young directors of a business school under the AICT system. And it's been about almost 14 years as head of our institution. And it has given me a lot of experience, exposure. Given me an opportunity to change the life of young students. As a teacher, you can influence the life of 30, 40 batch size, when you talk to them in your classes or, interactions beyond classes. But as a leader, education leader, your opportunity is much more wider. You can interface with them, you can interface with the faculty members who interface with them, and the direct interactions, and then, certain policy initiatives that you take help in terms of running the business school better, influencing the learning outcomes of the students, and of course, widening the landscape of higher education and management education in the country. So you get a much wider role, and the opportunity is definitely much more to shape life of youngsters and also to service the industry at large, because I fully believe that we prepare students for a corporate career, and there has been a lot of dissonance over last decade or so about the students not being future ready, and their skill sets are not commensurating with the emerging trends in technologies and the kind of jobs that are emerging. So there is always a challenge that keeps coming up, and I try my best that wherever and our institutes and in our management circles, if we can make our academic systems much more relevant to ensure that the customer, which I say is industry, is happy to receive our students.
Okay, that's great, sir. Moving on to the next question. Being the director of JK Business School, what is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style, sir?
Very interesting question, and very difficult to give an honest answer. Everybody would come and say that I have participative. I take decisions and ensure everybody participates in implementing that decision. Different decisions, policy initiatives, if I can say so, have different takes by the stakeholders. So, like Krishna, you got to have all rupas, I would say, in check. There are decisions when you have to be authoritative in terms of giving in instructions for it to be followed, because you're very sure and that it's a change whose time has come and must be implemented. Might not be in the understood and appreciated in the general good in the immediate short term, but in the long term it will have positive ramification. So sometimes you tend to get authoritative in nature. Otherwise, generally in higher education, it is the participative style. When I was in corporate, I know I was much more authoritative in nature. But being here for almost about 20 years now, I understand that it is the participative style that works much better, largely because most of the faculty members are highly educated, quite motivated, and are there because they left corporate innings to be in a business school because they want to change the life of youngsters and service the industry as much as possible, and influence the young 22 25-year boys and girls to make a wonderful career ahead. So the general purpose of the faculty member is quite similar in nature. So therefore, it is a participative style which works well in higher education. So I've also adapted to that over last 2 decades now. So we have rounds of meetings and interactions, and the decision making is much more I would say cohesive in the business schools compared to the other corporates, I would say.
All right, sir. Question. Being the director of JK Business School, how do you strategize about the key programs and plans for the marketing and administration of your school?
I can talk about one immediate. I'll rather take a case rather than talking about strategy, because business school is a very well structured education system already in place. It's about a more than 100-year-old program, and industry has benefited. Students have benefited for last 100 years in this wonderful program known as MBA. Or in India, good programs are coming from the AICT's PGDM stable. So PGM programs or postgraduate programs. It's a largely established system, but there are a lot of innovations that keep happening. It has a lead follow cycle. Sometimes the industry takes the lead and the business schools follow, and most of the time they develop a theoretical base around what the industry has industry practices are showing. Sometimes the faculty members also take initiatives like balanced scorecard, which I keep quoting, that a professor designs a balanced scorecard, and then the companies and then the counties and then the countries and the business schools benchmark their performance on the basis of balanced scorecard. So it has a lead follow cycle, but then when it comes to taking initiatives, or it is something like we decided about a year back to move to outcome based education, OBE as they call it. Now India has been a signatory of Washington Accord for many years, but accreditation has taken a back seat, or was not in the received in the same array as globally. There are hardly any B schools which have been accredited well, and even the accreditation standards also have been questioned at times. So we decided to move on to outcome-based question, and then we decided to follow the Bloom's taxonomy to have higher skills or higher order thinking skills as a key indicator of what we teach and how we teach and how we assess. So we sat back about a year back or so, more than a year back, to look at as to what is that we are teaching, how are we teaching, and how are we assessing. And we found that the answer was there in the Bloom taxonomy, and we decided that we will upgrade our content, as colloquially referred as the syllabus. We will also improve our teaching pedagogy so that the higher order skills are focused. The focus would move from remembering and understanding and trying to cram it out and vomit it out, to analyzing skills, compare two options and then pick up the right one, and why would you pick up, write a business plan, write a marketing plan. So creating skills. So the analogy was that a higher order thinking skill would require more of application of the content that you have taught in the theoretical base, rather than cramming and remembering and understanding and writing it out in definitions and all. So it's been almost a year now. We are almost in the a stage where the outcomes are all measured, course outcomes are all well defined, program outcomes are well defined. We are mapping them, and students have also participated, faculty have also participated. So it's been a journey of 1 year, and I think we have done fairly well for ourselves.
That's a great initiative, sir.
It is sorry.
Great initiative, sir. So I will move on to the next question, sir. How does the curriculum of JK Business School ensure the best practice of the industry?
Yeah, that's what I touched upon earlier. Industry is our consumer. So I have to prepare students for a career in the industry or the industrial environment. So definitely I have to understand their practices. In fact, it is more than their practices. In fact, sometimes, many a times, I have to do soul searching and look at the technologies and the way they are coming up. Today, you would have noticed that the artificial intelligence and robotics and other industries, Internet of Things, robotic process automation, cloud computing, 3D printing, big data analytics, virtual reality are the name of technologies from which the most of the jobs are emerging. And it's not that only some industries are getting impacted. In fact, many more industries are getting impacted with the new set of technologies which are shaping up. And we also have to also look at the kind of jobs that would appear 3 years to 5 years from now. So my syllabi, as you mentioned, or my course needs to address not only the potential of the job 1 year from now, but also has to look at the kind of jobs that are likely to emerge few years from now. And the technologies initially do not change the job content or skill set. Initially technology influenced technology, and later on a lot of people adopt the new technology, and then the technology starts influencing not only the newer technologies and the working style, but it also impacts the entire social system, political system, social system, technology system. And that's where when the big change happens. As business school leaders, we have responsibility to keep a close tab on the emerging technologies and how they are influencing their businesses, and our curriculum also must reflect the change as it happens. And we try to do the same. Our syllabi and the courses and their weightage gets revised every year. We have a board of studies and the academic advisory board and the board of governors, three tier structure of decision making, where it is continuously under discussion.
Great, sir. So the next question would be, any insights into how your institute could be more welcoming to the students of different races or economic backgrounds?
I'm glad you asked this question. In fact, for a business school like JK, coming out sponsored by JK organization and managed by JK Education Trust, the heterogeneity is extremely important. We work on diversity of student. Few years back, we took a resolve that we will look at gender participation, and then we achieved almost 50% gender participation in the previous few batches. So that was an important area. We also look at heterogeneity of the national character of our business school, and we have about 20 states of the country which are represented in our batch or the cohort that we teach here. So we travel to different parts of the country, take interviews, invite students from those diverse area, and ensure that the diversity of at least 15-20 states get maintained year after year. So if you say so that we might have a quota system, I would say that yes, we do have a quota system to ensure that the diversity of the country, this country, gets reflected, and it should be a mini India, in the school. That's what we strive for. Also, in terms of diversity, we also have diversity of the previous academic exposure of students. So we invite students from commerce background, arts background, engineering background, medical background, and we try to ensure as much diversity as possible in terms of the admission process that takes place. Economic diversity, we don't work specifically, but generally, as a responsible business school, our fees has been considered to be quite value driven, and generally we have maintained lower fees than the comparable institutes in the top 100 B schools in the country, so as that should not be a predicament as far as the selection of B school is concerned. So we have a couple of more than 1,000 applications, and then we pick up about 100 students every year. So we give a fair chance to every student to participate in the selection process and get selected.
All right, sir. So next question would be, what do you think should be the institute's top priority over the next 10 years?
All right. I would say the priority remains the same, that we should be received well by all stakeholders. A business school has stakeholders like alumni, and the alumni must participate in the decision making process of the institute. Today they find representation in the board of studies, they find representation in the academic advisory board, and we are trying if we can get a representation in the board of governors also. As far as students are concerned, we have student committees to generally for the almost the entire general administration of the institute, and we would like to strengthen it up further in the going into the future, so that it becomes an institute which is managed more by student bodies and less by general administrators. Going in the long term, of course, that would be a priority that on which we have already begun our journey a few years back. Outcome-based education has begun only last year. Looking into the future, a few years from now, we would like that all our programs get accredited, and accredited from not only the national organization but including the international organizations. We would look at whether it's EQUIS or AASB. We presently we would start striving for them as soon as our accreditation in India is complete. So that is one area that we're looking up for. In terms of rankings, we've not been very happy, but then we understand that from where we come from and the kind of model that we have, which is very much student focused, the rankings sometimes might not be truly reflective. But we are in the top 15 most of the rankings, but we would like to have a much better ranking system for ourselves in terms of understanding their assessment systems and see how far we can come close to communicating our philosophy to the ranking organizations.
All right, sir. So, next question would be, when you first came to JK Business School, what was your vision for the institute? Has it evolved over time, and how far along in implementing that vision are you?
All right, this is my second inning at JK Business School. First time I was here as a very young director in 2009 and taught a course. In fact, today I am meeting some of the students today evening in the launch party, whom I taught service marketing in 2009. So I've been around for almost about 10 years, but yeah, last inning I joined was about 5 years back. Of course, when you join a corporate anchored business school, you look forward to having a closer connect with the industry compared to the other business schools, and that has been the advantage, and that has been the vision of this business school, and which I adopted as my mission as well. And we have become tech savvy much more, and whatever I had thought of, I have been able to implement in my institute in terms of being looking at learning outcomes beyond classrooms, because classroom, yes, we know there is a model already in place, but to ensure that there is a higher level of learning outside the classroom, beyond the classroom, which is very, very important for a residential program like JK Business School. So we have been able to take a lot of initiatives, and it has got implemented now. So for us at JK Business School, it is much beyond learning in the classroom for those couple of hours that you are in. There are group assignments and group tasks and activities which go on around the corner throughout the year, and late in the evenings, which are all targeted towards better learning outcomes, and they are all delivering results. We have moved up in the rankings in the last few years, but we would like to continue on this journey. It has been a satisfying experience, and definitely a lot of the aspirations which when I did my MBA and what thought a business school should have. And fortunately, it was a great exposure for me also at business school in way back in 86, 88. But then 30 years later, I still feel that there is still a lot of job to be done, and we are answerable to industry, which is very different from the industry a few years back. And as business school leader, I have a responsibility to ensure that we are constantly in touch with the industry, participating, working with them, and ensuring that they are happy with our students as they come and select them for the job assignments year after year.
All right, sir. So, next question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you see, both for higher education in general and for JK Business School specifically?
The biggest challenge this country faces is the delay in terms of the new education policy. I'm glad it has come come about now. We decided to work on this outcome-based education last year only. Perhaps we are about a decade late, I would say, both the country and the school also. But I think this is an idea whose time had come much earlier. Even if we are late, we need to implement it as fast as possible. The industry also seems to be hit by a lot of technological advancement, and today the industry also feels that if they are not as tech savvy as they were a couple of years back, they would find it difficult to survive. A lot of jobs are working from home these days. Technology has suddenly catapulted as a very important growth driver, and is likely to remain so in the coming years for the industry. And that is where the challenge for industry is also the challenge for higher education. And now, when we look at as a responsible business school, we have to ensure that my students who gets placed in the year 2021, 2022 are prepared well for the new industry norms as they appear now. And this challenge is not only for the JK Business School; it is for the entire education system. Our education system has been accused of being not connected with the industrial requirements. There has been surveys after surveys, like McKinsey survey, stating that not more than 25% of the engineers in India are employable. And I think similar kind of surveys have come for business education also, which does not augurs well. So these were reflective of the disconnect the higher education, especially professional courses, had with the industry and with the job market. And this issue has been there for many years, and I think I'm glad that it is getting addressed, and I think it needs to be addressed much more sincerely in the coming years.
All right, sir. So, any suggestions you would like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students?
My suggestion to a prospective student who is likely to join any business school, for that matter, would be that you must understand that school is a transit journey of 2 years before you land up into the corporate job, where you have to spend the next 30 to 35 years. So those 30-35 years you must start envisaging as you decide that you would like to be a corporate executive, whether you are a policymaker or a business executive or a business leader. You will have to spend that journey of 35 years in a corporate. The training for that journey begins in the business school, and it begins much before you arrive in the business school. We send a long list of prerequisites to our students every year. We've done the same this year also. And in terms of trying to understand what is being formal, formal communication, formal dressing, and in fact these days, more than formal, even the informal dressing is accepted. But then you don't get your second chance to make your first impression, and therefore you have to understand that you have to go through the competitive maze of going through the business school, out competing your classmates, getting a good job, and then surviving in that job and moving further in the ladder. The journey begins at business school, and these 2 years will have a lot of challenges to come up. When you get into a B school, start thinking about the next 35 years and don't look at the next first 2 years when you're in the business school, and start working on your soft skills. The business schools are not finishing schools, so they will not be able to spend much time on it. That you have to do on your own. Speak to the glass, read out the news of the day, start looking at making presentations, handle case studies, speak to yourself in front of a glass. There is so much that you can do on your own, for which you only need your own motivation. You don't need somebody else to suggest you or task you for this. Reading the newspaper of the day, I decided a long time back after my professor suggested, and I started reading news for about 2 minutes a day. It helped me a lot. It gave me confidence. I don't know about communication skills, because I definitely, like most of my friends, came from a very small town, but it gave me confidence that I could be a news reader. And of course, I was not destined, neither trained to be a news leader, but it gave me confidence that I can encapsulate what is there in those 8-10 pages of economic times those days and summarize it in 2 minutes. It is an important skill set that everybody would need. So reading the newspaper and detailing it to a friend or a younger cousin or a family or to the glass in front of you is something that everybody must do, because it gives you summarizing skills, it gives you comprehending skills, it gives you as to your communication skills. So this is what I suggest most of the students before they arrive at the business school.
That's quite impressive, sir. So the last question of the day: how do you tend to establish a healthy relation and environment in your institute?
See, a healthy environment has only one basic premise: respect for each other. In my campus, generally the perception which I like to maintain, and it gets maintained, is that Dr. Marwa is accessible. You can move to Dairo's room anytime. So you don't need appointment to submit somebody else to move into his office. And I think that has happened over the years. I wasn't like this maybe about a decade back or so, but I realized that when people decide to move into the director's office, they must have a compelling reason to do that. And I realized that it was not that you have too many walk-ins, because as such, anyway, you walk in the campus, you go around to the classes, you interface with the students in the cafeteria. So there is so much of communication that takes place everywhere. So having an open office environment is just easily feasible and doable. And now we have the culture of respect in terms of whether it is a student of first year or an alumni with 10 years of experience, they all deserve the same respect. So we don't have any hierarchical structure in our organization. People are addressed with first name. I find it difficult. My students do not address me at Sanjeev because of the heavy overload of the academic systems that comes in this society. But yes, I would love to be addressed as Sanjeev rather than Dr. Marwa or Sanjeev Marwa or Dairo sir. But then it has got tagged along to me. But I think this is what has really helped us to have a very open and communicable environment, because whether it's the cafeteria meeting where I love to walk in, although I know that my taste habits and preferences are very different from what the students would like to have, and generally they prevail, but not generally, all the time they prevail. But it's a open and trustful environment at JK Business School. So and I'm happy about that. I think that gives me confidence. That gives confidence to the students of first year, second year, alumni. My alumni comes back to talk to these youngsters after 10 years or 8 years of working, and they come in the late evenings and have interviews. They call it follow interviews. Then they want to have with the youngsters, because they have to prepare them well. And that environment is sometimes gets a little aggressive. I am very uncomfortable in that environment, but that does happens in the interest of students, in the interest of the young students who are looking for a corporate environment. But this is all work at play. I mean, I know at the end of it, it's mutual respect which exists, and I'm happy that I'm part of the system.
Thank you so much, sir. It was lovely to have you with us. Thank you so much for sparing our time for this. So, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.